You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we're going to be wrapping up the group stage of the T20 World Cup. We know who's through. We know that the West Indies are crashed out, and a little bit later on in the show we'll be looking forward to the Super 12 and giving our thoughts on who we think will qualify out of those two groups. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Ross Legg. He's scratching his nose pensively. How are you doing, Ross? Did you enjoy the cricket today?
Yeah, I did actually, and what a group stage it's been, right? I think in terms of with a little bit of reservations around, like last year, the group stage was a bit of a damp squib, wasn't it? But this has provided upsets, reality checks for many, some great cricket, some very poor cricket. It is the perfect appetizer for the main course of the Super 12s.
Certainly was, yeah. I've got a theory to put to you, Ross. This is the rise of Europe as a cricketing force. We've got Ireland through, we've got Netherlands through, England are already there, Scotland very close to getting through, and they take out a test nation on their way out. In fact, only one of the teams to beat them, also European. What do you think? Should we look forward to 50 years of Netherlands dominating international cricket now?
I don't think Europe and the countries within it have had their fair say over what's happened across the world. So I think it's time for European dominance, yeah.
Cool. Just going to point people towards the show notes. If they want to get involved with supporting the show, you can do that at our Patreon, patreon.com/the cricket pod. We do bonus shows on there where we look back. We basically watch Ro Belinda videos, don't we? And we kind of do watch alongs to them, and it's quite funny. And at the higher tiers, you kind of get involved in a little bit more detail, I suppose, or be on the show if you pay full whack. So yeah, patreon.com/the cricket pod. Ross, should we do Group A first? We'll round that off, right? Yeah. So yesterday, Sri Lanka, they took care of the Netherlands as we said they would. That put Netherlands in a spot of difficulty. Star performer was Kusal Mendis, but shout out to Asalanka. After we mocked him on Wednesday's show, pointing out the average 1.9 over his last 5 innings, he cashed in with 30 off 30 balls. so good work to him. He was striking at 40, so he's more than doubled his strike rate in that innings, and has performed 15 times better on an average from an average perspective. So that's good. In response, Max O'Dowd batted really well for the Netherlands and actually made the game kind of close, but nobody could stand up at the other end, and so they fell short, and it looked like they were out. We then described, or on Wednesday, we described Namibia v UAE as a banker for Namibia, and it looked like it would be, as UAE blocked the shit out of it for 10-ish overs, until their captain CP Rizwan came in and led from the front, helping them to scrape together a target of 148. Now that should have still been quite gettable for Namibia, but they had the mother of all batting collapses. They were 69 for 7 after 12 overs, and it all came down to David Wiese. And I tell you what, those last 8 overs, full of drama. It looked like David Wiese was going to get them there. It came down to, I think, 19 off 12 balls at one point, but an unlikely hero emerged for the UAE. Mohamed Wasim, their opening batter, fresh off his first 50 in T20 World Cups, came on to bowl for the first time in the tournament in the 16th over of the match. That one, David Wiese hit him for a 6 there, but he wasn't to be deterred. He came back, he bowled the last over when Namibia needed 14 to win, got David Wiese and helped the UAE to their first ever World Cup win, in the process knocking out Namibia. And it also meant that none of the teams that played at this year's World Cup went home with 3 losses to their name. So good for the UAE, I think, after we questioned them, I think, early in the tournament. They came up with a good response there. Ross, that means Netherlands and Sri Lanka go through. What are your thoughts on both those teams?
So I think Netherlands are lucky to be through. I think their batting has not come together very well at all in this tournament. Max O'Dowd has probably been the only grown-up in that batting lineup. Everyone else seems to have got thrown their wicket away. Middle order hasn't pumped at all, or it was a kind of a captain's innings to get them across the line in one of the other games. But their bowling has been it's a decent unit. They've got something there which they can cause teams problems with, which I think is good. Whilst you also have Sri Lanka, who are well, let's be fair, they were complacent in the first game. They were fresh off of winning their Asia Cup, and they were just like, we're not going to lose to these guys, are we?
They hadn't played a game for a month, had they? They were like, we've won the Asia Cup, don't need to practice.
It's just someone passed me some more cigarettes and some beer. And they realised, oh no, we actually have to try, otherwise we're going to get even more embarrassed. And yeah, their quality was just too much, right? Hasaranga and Tiksana is like it was just too much for those teams, and they've got a worthy place in the Super 12s.
Yeah, I think as well. I think they're a team that could actually cause trouble in the Super 12s as well. The batting, even in this game, 162 for 6 against the Netherlands is probably below par. To be honest, if you are a major nation, but bowling wise, they've got a couple of pieces, and I think they probably can trouble a couple of the teams in next stage. So good for them, and I think it's quite cool for the Netherlands as well. They hadn't won a match since 2016. Making it through to the Super 12s is a pretty big achievement for quite an unfancy team. Going into the tournament, they were the second longest shot to win the tournament after the UAE. I think most people thought they would lose to Namibia. They managed to just creep over the line there. They managed to just creep over the line against the UAE as well, actually. I mean, if thinking back to the first match, if Rizwan, the captain, had taken that catch off Pringle where he just dinked it to cover, then the UAE could be in the next round.
Sliding doors.
That's a real T20 sliding doors moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be a good experience for them to come up against some of the bigger teams in the next round as well.
Well, Jack, the way I'm seeing the Netherlands, and it's in my head, Greece winning the Euros in was it 2004?
Yeah.
Are we on for a Netherlands? They literally just get across the line by a couple of runs. They've pretty much won their victory.
This is my Rise of Europe thing. This is my Rise of Europe. They are the only European representation in Pot 2. There are some quite good teams in Pot 2. Yeah. Pakistan, South Africa. But there's no reason why the Netherlands can't take them down with the run of form they're on. I think I've lost Ross, which could be trouble. So oh dear. I'm going to move on to talking about Namibia. Oh my god, what am I going to do? So Namibia, it was a pretty exciting game in this match too, and I'd maybe go as far as saying one of the best cricket matches I've seen for absolutely ages. I don't think it's ever happened before that Ross has literally dropped off the call, and I'm going to have to carry this on. So we might edit the podcast version. It really got to me. I thought David Visa's tears at the end. And I think it was watching the game. It was one of those matches. I'm just talking about Namibia v UAE and trying to freestyle it, but not doing very well, Ross. It was one of those matches.
You've done a great job.
It was one of those matches where whether David Visa did it or the UAE won the match, cricket was going to be the winner there. It was either going to be a team's first win at a major tournament, or David Visa literally single-handedly taking his through to the next round of the tournament. And you could really see how much it meant to him not to be able to get it over the line, right there at the death, right?
Yeah, and I think we've got 41. This was a huge opportunity to really be the star of the show, and he almost did it. It's unfortunate for me because I think Namibia had the game plan, as we obviously saw before, to cause teams trouble. And I kind of feel they just didn't execute it as well as they could have done. Mm-hmm. And they moved some people around their batting order. Probably tried to be too smart with it. Ultimately just backfired on them. But a great performance, nevertheless, from the opposition.
Yeah. I think they'll be really disappointed, especially after the winning the bonus match against Sri Lanka early on. It's a shame we won't be seeing them. I'm sure they'll be back for 2024 though, when there's a 24-team tournament, or 20-team tournament rather. So I look forward to seeing them, and hopefully they can develop. If they could develop like a couple more batters, I think, even if they were like quite basic anchor batters, the kind of person that might get 40 off 30, then I think they'd be a real handful for a lot of the teams in the tournament, because they've got a little bit of bowling. They are quite clever, and they've got, unlike a couple of the nations, they've got a lower order which really can pelt the ball all over the place. So good for them. Should we do Group B?
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, the headline story here is the West Indies crashing out the tournament, and they
Deservedly so.
Yeah, deservedly so. They were taking on Ireland. They looked on pace for a decent enough score, or at least one that you'd think would trouble Ireland, the way they've been batting recently, until Gareth Delaney bowled. I think it was the 16th over of the match, wicket and 1 run, and it kind of took all the air out of the innings. It meant that like they were going to challenge 160, maybe a bit more, I think, and they ended up in the 140s, and it was the 140s, wasn't it? I just made that up.
Yeah, just fundamentally not good enough. 146.
Yeah, 146, which is a pretty gettable target. We'd said that Ireland struggle if someone at the top of the order doesn't get runs, and the main person they need to get runs at the top of the order is Big Paul Sterling. Big Paul Sterling comes through in the game that sort of matters in, and if you don't get him out, Ireland are basically capable of getting any score. Paul Sterling is probably IPL fringe quality, I'd say. Like it's a very good opening batter. Bowls a little bit of spin as well, which is a nice a nice bonus, a Brucey bonus, yeah. Ireland cruise, 15 balls remaining, win by 9 wickets. That's a pretty big statement that they're a team that can cause trouble when things click for them, right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it just shows, we talked about before around how they had started to shift their mentality. So it wasn't just like, let's be competitive in these games. Let's actually shift to a high risk, high reward strategy and actually try to start to take down some of the big boys. And that's what T20 is all about, right? I think there was a stat saying that like most of the upsets happen in this tournament, right? They don't happen in ODI cricket as often because there's more chance in the game for them to come back in. But they're the rejuvenated Irish side who are a bit more carefree, pounded West Indies today, who were the complete opposite. They were dull, they were tepid, they ultimately had a really poor batting strategy, and I also think they got their bowling plans wrong as well. It's been a disaster class from West Indies, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really comes out of the tournament with a lot of credit from West Indies' point of view. Alzari Joseph bowled well in one of the games, didn't he? Obi McCoy's been sort of okay. A lot of the others,
not international standard cricket.
You don't. I mean, and some of them that probably are just didn't do anything. Like nothing from Nicholas Pura, nothing really from Evan Lewis.
Rothman Powell, really.
Rothman Powell hit a humongous 6, didn't he?
But that was about 28 ball, 28.
that was sort of it for him. Odin Smith, they don't really know how to use him, and I don't think they really trust him either. And I think that they probably could have picked and managed some of the players that aren't in the squad slightly better. I still don't see how you don't pick Andre Russell unless he's retired. West Indies. I still don't see how you don't pick Sunil Narayan unless he's retired from West Indies cricket. And most of the signals that we've heard from people who are in the know are that both of those players would quite happily have played for West Indies at this World Cup. I think if you have both of them, that makes it a little bit more attractive to Hetmeyer. You try and smooth things over with Hetmeyer's wife, and maybe you can get him back in the fold, and then you've actually got a pretty serviceable team. Like there's still going to be some fragility there around the batting. It's still going to be a bit brittle, but like, imagine if you have 4 overs of Narayan to bowl.
Well, I'm not even joking. Like if Chris Gale would have been better in this lineup than half the batters they've got at the moment, and that's saying something.
Yeah, so I don't know where they go from here. I think they're in I think there's a serious likelihood that they don't qualify for the ODI World Cup.
And you think that will then be rock bottom? You said in the preview.
Yeah,
this is pretty close to rock bottom.
I thought they'd get through this group, to be honest, and I still think they're probably the best team in the group, even various flaws. But they're clearly not. There's clearly not daylight between them and Ireland, them and Scotland, and then Zimbabwe. They need a bit to go their way. They need to take power play wickets, and when they don't, they're quite beatable. even by these smaller nations. Same problems exist in ODI cricket. Didn't they go 13 matches without a win earlier this year in ODIs? Like they're a bad team there. They're going to be in the qualifiers. If you're Scotland, you fancy that, don't you? Or or Ireland. Ireland will probably be in the qualifiers too. Like it's both of those teams probably think they can beat the West Indies.
Yeah, it's also, I think it's quite lucky that West Indies are co-hosting the 2024 World Cup, because there are question marks around would they actually get there? Because there's a huge improvement is required. And as I said, it's the approach that really winds me up. I don't mind picking people who are not quite there, but their players, in theory, should be better than some of the associate nations they're coming up against. And just a really poor lack of application.
So then in the other match later on, Zimbabwe took on Scotland, and this was a pure knockout match. We said that there might be some rain, and that meant that Scotland were probably favourites to go through. But in a match where they actually played out the full 40 overs, we probably backed Zimbabwe. And I think Zimbabwe just had the quality edge over Scotland, to be honest. Scotland couldn't really get going with the bat. Posted only 132. And even though they managed to take a couple of early breakthroughs and put the squeeze on, Irvine and Raza are good players. And Irvine just kept the score going. He did what a few teams in this tournament haven't done. He actually played a good anchor innings in a low-scoring match. And Raza at the other end, as the run rate started to edge towards 8, played a little cameo where he got, I can't remember what it was, 30 off 20, something like that, in that ballpark. Including a great 6, which he smacked Michael Leask.
It was 40 off 23.
40, well, there you go, yeah. Even better.
Perfect innings.
Yeah, he hit Michael Leask over extra cover for a 6. It was a really, really good shot. And that effectively was the sort of turning point. Around the 10 over mark, Scotland went away from Mark Watt and towards 2 slightly less good bowlers. And I think the next 3 overs went for 30. And it was sort of all over at that point. Although they did manage to get Raza in the end. Credible performance from Scotland, I think, in this tournament. They beat the West Indies. They came pretty close. They came as close as you can to winning against Ireland without winning. And they made a game of it against Zimbabwe. I think they'll be a little bit frustrated to go out. But I think probably the 2 teams that played the best cricket have gone through in this group.
Yeah, no, I think so. And the Zimbabwe coach, the attitude that the kind of Zimbabwe have gone into, said, I did say to the guys before we left home that it's nice to qualify to be here, but that's not our main objective. Our main objective is to get through and cause as much damage in the Super 12 as they can. So it's a good vision. It's a good team purpose they've got there. And I think that Scotland just were probably like a bowler short. It felt they had good quality, and then the next couple not quite up to the standard of what they needed. And batting wise, again, when you've got someone like George Munsey there, kind of anchoring around, there's the opportunity to go to that next level. But he just didn't get any real support, unfortunately, from the team, and it cost them.
Yeah, it did. So the 2 teams that go through, Zimbabwe and Ireland. Ireland will get a chance to play against England again, which is usually a pretty good one at a World Cup. Do you reckon England will be happy that they don't have to play the Netherlands? Or will they be worried about Ireland? We've got a question about this. Can England beat Ireland?
England can beat Ireland. I think that's there. I do think that Group 1 is significantly harder than Group 2, kind of just on paper, and actually it'll make for some pretty interesting cricket. I also think some of the pitches they'll play on, I think the one they're going to play against Sri Lanka on is not your typical kind of Australian wicket, and it will probably take a bit more turn. England are not home and dry in that at all. Like, it's going to be a really, really tough competitive Group 1, I think. There's no reason why Ireland can't take down one of those teams.
Cool. Well, we've got a couple of questions in from Twitter. We'll do those, and then we'll do a mini preview of the Super 12 stage and do our predictions. So we've got one from LSG. Why don't Europe have a Euro Cup of cricket, just like the Asia Cup? Or possibly add Namibia and Zimbabwe with Ireland, Scotland, Netherlands and England and have an Atlantis Cup? What do you think of the Atlantis Cup?
The Atlantis Cup it's got... immediately I like the name. It kind of reminds me of when England and Italy used to do like an FA Cup in football, so the Anglo-Italian Cup. And do you know what? Don't hate it. Don't hate it.
Yeah, I think there should be a Euro Cup. I don't think it'd be that send along a team. Doesn't have to be every year. How often do they play the Asia Cup? Every 2 years? Every 3 years? It's not always in there, and it would give a constant supply of reasonably important cricket to Scotland, to Ireland, to the Netherlands, and just throw in one extra qualifier. It's like 5 extra T20s a year. Do that instead of playing like a pointless series against whoever. Play it in one of those nations as well.
We're playing Australia again. Brilliant.
Well, yeah, I mean, but let's see. Yeah, you make a lot more money, don't you, from playing Australia, and that fundamentally is probably what it comes down to from an England point of view. I think that's a little bit of a shame, and I think part of the compromise that I think you should accept if you're England. And you've developed the 100 competitions so you can sell your TV rights to Sky for more money, and you have a closed shop sort of test calendar where you play Australia 5 times every 10 minutes, play India 5 times every 10 minutes, and you squeeze out some of the other teams. Part of the compromise there should be that you do some more to develop cricket in your area. And you don't even really see like that many English coaches, I don't think, at like Ireland or Netherlands or Scotland. I mean, I'm sure there are some about, but like quite often it's an Aussie or a Safa that's in charge. And like even small things like exporting the expertise aren't great at, I don't think. So I'd
they get cushy gigs on Talk Sport and Sky.
Yeah.
Why take the difficult route?
Yeah, exactly. Other question we had in was from Dan. Where does Mohammad Wasim rank in terms of unlikely match-winning death bowlers? Also, who has the more iconic glasses, Pringle or Leach? Well, Mohammad Wasim, like, it was interesting. His captain afterwards said that in their domestic cricket, he does actually bowl at the death, which was kind of a little bit of a surprise because he was probably bowling about 65 miles an hour. It was a sight to behold. The thing was, though, and actually this is a true thing, the slower you bowl, it is easy to be more accurate. And he was getting the ball up there. He bowled quite a lot of Yorkers. And I guess you're just never really preparing for a 65-mile-an-hour Yorker bowler at the death, are you? It's like...
No, you're not really preparing for that. And it's also, there's people who have made a pretty decent career out of bowling that stuff, right? Colin de Grandhomme is a good example of how much they struggled England in the World Cup final against them. And so, yeah, maybe what we need to see is more medium pacers coming into it.
And then on the glasses, Jack Leach is probably going to have the more iconic glasses. However, one of our audience members tweeted us in a photo, Noah, who went to the Netherlands game yesterday, and actually got Tim Pringle to sign a can of Pringles. There's a picture of it. If you go to our Twitter timeline, we retweeted his story, and you can go and see it. This is verified true. So thank you for sending that in. If you've got
I think that's a good opportunity for Pringles to get involved in cricket. The Netherlands kit you could actually make to look like a Pringles can.
The other thing
that's a banker.
The other thing is, it's an orange Pringles can. Like,
I know. Yeah, I've seen the Pringles can. Like, they could do that, whatever flavour that is. Like, why do they do it?
So that was pretty awesome. That wraps up the group stage. Any key takeaways? I saw a really good Tim Wigmore tweet, which sort of summed it up, saying, "Don't think there's ever been an associate. Don't think associates cricket has ever had a better advert than this week. All teams have brought a lot and won at least one game. No side has been undefeated. Cricket has been cutthroat and good quality. It has been a great advert for the 20-team World Cup coming up in 2024." I strongly agree with that statement. I think that it has been a really good group stage, and I think it's just a shame in a sense that because of the format, all of the cricket's sort of been relegated to this secondary standard. Like, it's a qualifying tournament, isn't it, for the actual World Cup? Everyone
liked it though.
I liked it as well, but I'm looking forward to it.
It's fun to tune in.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it being the real deal, I suppose, at the next one. Like, it's in a 5-team group. The results or what Ireland achieve in those matches will have an outcome. Ireland could squeak through. Some of the group we did in our WhatsApp. We were talking about what a group makeup might look like, and it's not, it is conceivable that some of these associate nations can get through to a final eight. I mean, if you look based on, I think, the sort of current world rankings, you could have a group that looked like England, Sri Lanka, Ireland, Namibia, Oman. Like Ireland would have a good chance of getting through that, and all the cricket would matter. It might be the odd thumping dished out by England, but that sort of happens. You're not going to learn what the level is unless you get a little bit of exposure to it, are you?
Agreed.
And you don't have to actually watch England v Oman as well. Yes.
It's your choice. It's your choice.
Yeah. You know what you're getting if you go into that. So it's pretty cool. Should we talk about the Super 12s?
Oh yes.
Right, so we'll run through each group. In our original preview, we went into a little bit more detail on these teams because a lot of them are quite unknown. I don't think we need to be doing quite the same level of detail.
I know one thing we do need to do.
Yes.
And that is to say that everyone watching us on YouTube, there's 70 odd people doing it right now. Like this video and subscribe to our channel, and go on to Twitter and follow us at the Cricket Pod.
That is good. And hit the show notes, patreon.com/the Cricket Pod. And we've got a pretty thriving Discord as well. Lots of people watching along from all around the world. So I wake up in the morning and there are like the people in San Francisco have been watching the cricket before they go to bed. So I get a little update there, which is.
We're a global media empire.
We're a global brand. TCP is a global brand. Right, let's run through Group 1. It's not Group A and B now, is it? It's Group 1 and 2. Which is stupid. Because you've got
Group 1 is better. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Right, Afghanistan. The main thing that we are going to do, and we are going to carry this over from the last one, is we're going to tell you which famous person best represents the team. In the first pool, we had a rule that it couldn't be a cricketer. I'm going to break that for Afghanistan. You got sometimes.
Did you not find anyone from Afghanistan that was famous?
I could find a few people. Rashid Khan, I think, as the talisman, he gets to be the face of Afghanistan for this tournament. Basically, if he has a good tournament, this is a team that could go far. A lot is resting on them. It's resting on him. I think with Afghanistan that they are a good cricket team, but they aren't quite the level up yet. So I would expect them to finish. I expect them to beat Ireland. They might beat Sri Lanka, and they'll probably lose the other 3 matches. That's my prediction for Afghanistan. And they've got a bunch of known quantities with the bat and ball. We always talk about Gurbaz, don't we? Still really yet to see it personally.
Well, he's been past fit, so they thought he might have broken his toe in training. So he will be around.
That's good.
But they've still got Zazai and those guys, and Nabi is the captain. Like, he is about 55 years old and still can give it a bit of a whiff. So we'll see. That's
Afghanistan profiled. Australia, they're the next team in the group. Which famous person do you think best represents Australia?
Well, they're reigning champs, aren't they? And I've picked a pretty famous person from all over the world, really, all over the world. It's Hollywood actor Paul Hogan, who's famous for playing Crocodile Dundee. And I've chosen him as he's what this Australian cricket team is setting out to be when they wear the baggy green. He was a movie star. He was a movie star, but he was almost like an anti-hero at the time, right? So Rambo was out at the same time that Crocodile Dundee was out. So instead of him going out and killing 75 people and being seen as someone who's, I want to be like that, his character is a good role model. There's no malice in the fellow. He's human. He's not a wimp or a sissy because he doesn't kill people. And this is what the Aussie team is. Self-righteous champs.
So they are a little bit like the self-righteous champs. I like that. I think they've got a really good chance to make it through. It looks like they're not going to pick Steve Smith, which is
huge dick in the box.
There was a really good phrase for it, and it slipped my mind. It was like team makeup,
team cohesion.
Team cohesion. Yeah, it was like that's a good thing. They're going to be a team with some real firepower with bat and ball, and I think just about favourites. Do you agree for the whole tournament?
I think home advantage.
Yeah,
always counts for quite a lot. And you've seen like the stadiums haven't been that full for the Australia games. They will be, I can imagine, pretty damn full. So Yeah, they've got the players who have been there and done it, and it's annoying because they don't even take T20 cricket that seriously, and they're still the giants at it.
I quite like in the chat while this is going on, people are suggesting alternative people. Chris Hemsworth and Hugh Jackman as two alternatives. You have to give us a reason. You can't just give us the name. We need to know why you think this person.
Here's a random Aussie.
Yeah, they are Aussies though. So well done there. Next on the list, and I don't know if this just in alphabetical order. Yeah, I think it is. Is England, Ross? Probably maybe the second favourites for the tournament. If they can work out the bowling, we'll talk about that. But first of all, which famous person best represents England?
Look, at the moment, this whole context of which we're operating in England is hilarious. The politics has completely fallen down. So we're going to have to go back to celebrating billionaires because that's what English people like to do and what Americans like to do. And there's one obvious choice. He's a champion of the business world. He's a billionaire to be celebrated for his boldness, his brashness, his taking on of an established format and rewriting the textbook. Can you guess who it is? It's Richard Branson, the champion of customers. Hero to many business people. This is from his website. The founder is a maverick entrepreneur and hippie billionaire, adventurer and philanthropist. He is always looking for new ways to do more for people and to create a better world. If that doesn't embody this England side, I don't know what does.
We've got some other alternatives here. King Charles. I don't know. I suppose he is the king.
Playing for Queen and Country.
Lasada says Prime Minister, if they have one.
Real zinger.
Yeah, all right. So cricket-wise, they're I think probably the best batting lineup in the tournament.
It's a formidable effect because I reckon England quite genuinely could put out 10 people who've all got a first-class century.
I think they could probably do 11, couldn't they?
Yeah, probably, and it'd still be a pretty decent side. But their approach has been it's fully vindicated. Last year it fell apart when Tamar Mills went down. He's back into the side because Topley has unfortunately rolled his ankle. So maybe this is a redemption story.
Yeah, I think the bowling is the query, isn't it? I mean, in a sense, they could play whoever with the bat and they'd probably be okay. Nobody's really sure which way they'll actually go. Apart from Ben Stokes at 3, obviously. They've nailed their colours and masks on that. Well, he batted at 3 against Pakistan, didn't he? They dropped Milan.
That's madness. Milan has to play in my book.
Okay, well...
we can see what happens tomorrow. They play at 12 o'clock tomorrow against Afghanistan, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. Oh, smash from Mike there. Sorry about that, everyone. Yeah, so the bat is good. Bowling, I think the question that people will be asking is who we think will be their 4 bowlers. In fact, is Sam Curran going to be 7? There's lots of questions here. Who are you picking bowling-wise?
There's a hell of a lot of left-handers there if you're talking about it. Milan, Stokes, Moeen Ali, Sam Curran. There's an awful lot in there.
Yeah, bowling though.
Mark Wood.
Yeah, his first name. Yeah,
first name.
Rashid
Khan. Yeah,
Rashid Khan. We've signed him.
Adil Rashid. Always do that. I think you have to have a left arm. I would probably just toss up between Sam Curran and David Willey, and I think Sam Curran's performed better in the last kind of 6 matches that they've played. So Sam Curran gets the nod. Then you got Stokes bowling a couple of overs. Moeen Ali's going to bowl a couple of overs. Who's the last? Chris Wokes for me. I think we've got to target the power play and win it that way. We don't have enough in the death to do it, so we've got to gamble.
Could England perhaps go with Curran at 8 and play all the batters? Just be like, we're going to really lean in to being a batting team here. As Ross gets moved on. Yeah, all right, cool. Well, answer that question, then we'll move on from England. Could they play?
Yeah, they can.
They can do that.
Yeah.
Next team on our list is Ireland. We've previewed Ireland and we've talked about Ireland, so we're just going to move on.
Yep.
Happy with that? And Sri Lanka. Yep. Sri Lanka, same for them. Leaves New Zealand. Who's your famous person for New Zealand?
I haven't got.
I do them?
I think you did that one.
This show's been a nightmare, hasn't it? Right, I've got 2 actually. Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi, the 2 New Zealand filmmakers and actors, because they're good in everything they're in. They're quite funny and they're nice guys. However, they're not that great at cricket. And I think that might be a little bit.
Just finalists last year.
Yeah. That was last year. This is this year. I don't particularly rate this New Zealand side. I don't think they're going to get through the group. I think the chicken's going to come home to roost, or whatever that phrase is, for Williamson. I don't know on some of these flat surfaces whether they'll be able to be canny with the ball in the way they were in the UAE last year. People like James Neesham, I think, could just be cannon fodder on these pitches. We'll see what happens. Like they are a clever team. They field really well. It's not inconceivable, right, that they go through, but I think they're more likely to be battling it out with Sri Lanka for third place than they are to be battling it out with England or Australia for qualification. Okay, so who are we thinking of going through from Group A? England and Australia?
England and Australia. You have to back those two, don't you?
We could have skipped the whole preview, couldn't we? Right.
Well, let's see what we can do for this group.
Right, Group 2, Bangladesh. Bangladesh was quite hard to find a famous person that best represented them. I've gone for Mohammed Yunus, who is a guy who set up a microfinance business which collapsed dramatically. Now it's the collapsed dramatically part which you should be paying attention to there, rather than the microfinance. I don't think this Bangladesh team are going to set up a microfinance business. But
well, no, because they pay people in t-shirts, don't they, to play in the Bangladesh Premier League.
That's off the record. I think they will collapse a few times. I don't particularly rate them. I don't think having a Brazilian left arm spinners is the way forward in Australian conditions. I think of the nations in the Super 12, they're the luckiest to be there, and it's based on some rather dubious home surfaces. I think the change of conditions away from those surfaces into to Australia is about as extreme as you could get. I don't really see anyone in their entire batting order that's particularly scary. Might help them get to imposing totals.
Yeah. Litton Das has had a good year. Shakib Al Hassan always a good option, but I'm not too worried about Bangladesh here.
I think that Zimbabwe will be targeting them for a win, and I think the Netherlands will probably think, that's an opportunity for us to do some damage. I think Bangladesh.
The others are going net run rate, big victory.
Bangladesh, I think, have won one match against a major nation at T20 World Cups. They beat West Indies, I think, in the first one, and since then haven't beaten another major nation at T20. That's extraordinary in a tournament and in a format with so much variance.
Yeah, well, and this World Cup, though, it's had so much variance, and maybe this is their time.
So I'm sorry to really go in on Bangladesh there, but
it is what it is.
It is, yeah. That is what it is. Who goes next in the alphabet? India. Anything? What did you have something you wanted to say?
Nope.
Right, India. Shahrukh Khan. That's who's representing.
Of course. Or the King's Punjab batter.
Not the Punjab Kings guy. No. The king of Bollywood, because the Indians are, they're self-proclaimed kings of cricket, are they? So, yeah. Any debate on that? I don't think so.
Well, I don't think so. No, I mean, if you're gonna pick a movie star, might as well pick one of the biggest ones, right? Bollywood.
I think the questions here are around their bowling, and we've discussed this at length. If you've been following our shows, just go and find the last show we talked about India. If you want us to do 20 minutes on it, we're not going to do that here. Plenty of time the rest of the tournament. Starting with Sunday, by the way, when we'll be doing one of these shows after India v Pakistan. So, wrap in, subscribe, etc. Batting, it's still, I don't think, the optimal lineup, but it has changed quite a lot. Did you know, Ross, at the last tournament, they were the team that played the fewest attacking shots in
that does not surprise me
of the major teams. Like we
pretty much said they were playing ODI cricket in the T20 format. But Rohit Sharma, since he's coming in as captain, has been changing that, right? And I think he has been leading from the front in changing that intent. Let's hope that continues, because it is so easy to revert back to type. And let's see what happens.
Yeah. So
come on, King Legends.
Yeah. Well, we've got the King Legends. I think India are still comfortably the best team in this group, even without Bumrah. Lots of people saying that they find it very difficult to see India winning the World Cup without Bumrah. I think basically what it does is it moves them from joint favourites to maybe just below England, but it's all very close. Like you're probably looking at, let's say Australia have got a 25% chance of winning the World Cup, and England have got a 20% chance Oh, India have probably got a 19% chance, or something like that, and then outsiders have got the rest, if that makes sense. There's a 5% chance that South Africa win it. Yeah. I still think they're in with a really good shout. There's so much talent in that team, and
the bowling lineup is still decent.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's just I just think when you're watching this India side, try if one game doesn't go your way, try to realise that your Arshdeep Singh is not the worst bowler in the world.
Yeah, you're Shah Rukh Khan, baby. It's next on our list, Netherlands. We talked about them. Tim Pringle, he's the man. Pakistan, Ross. I've got a famous person for Pakistan as well, and I asked Haider here. He said, say, Benazir Bhutto, the 13th and 11th Prime Minister of Pakistan. I don't know why I did that the wrong way around. The 11th and 13th Prime Minister of Pakistan. She was charismatic, this is the words of Haider, charismatic, well-intentioned, but ultimately quite mediocre. I don't know. I think with Shaheen Afridi, the bowling attack is pretty scary. Shaheen Afridi, Haris Ralph, there'll be someone else bowling really quick. Shadab Khan's pretty good. Nawaz is a decent left-arm option. Absolutely for sure the batting lineup isn't particularly good. Absolutely, that is a fact. But they've got some stability in there, and they will get scores.
I think they are a dangerous side if they get to 160, and that's what they've got. They've got 3 anchors in the top order who are all capable of hitting that kind of 70 or 55, 60 balls. So yeah, they're a dangerous side.
Yeah. So that's Pakistan basically done. South Africa. No, I have South Africa as well. You had an easy task on this show.
I did really easy. Yeah, I did.
South Africa. Elon Musk. Go for it. I didn't have long before the show. I probably could have done better than Elon Musk. I'll be honest. Now there is, yeah.
What's the justification?
Right. So lots of people are talking about how good they are, but they also do a bunch of crazy shit which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I think that's fair justification. There's obviously some talent there and some good ideas, and they are capable of having an impact, but are they fully compos mentis, or are they happy making some of the decisions that they're going to make to effectively make their team kind of worse?
The big question is this South African team going to the moon? That's the big question.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
It certainly is. So all the bookmakers think that they're the second favourites to get through in this group. I am not 100%. I think there are a few things in their favour. One, they're playing in Australia, so the conditions are going to be more favourable. 2, they're playing in Australia, and that means they'll probably have to face less spin, and their batting lineup is not fantastic against spin. 3, they have got quite a good varied bowling lineup, and I think a little bit like Pakistan, if they get runs on the board, they've got a chance beating anyone. However, within the good bowling lineup, there are like some weaknesses, and not Ngidi. Nortje hasn't been bowling that well recently.
No.
Fast bowlers can go round the park. He might go round the park. Rabada is a decent wicket taker in T20 cricket, but can be quite expensive himself. Like it is possible, I think, for the wheels to come off bowling point of view with this South Africa team. Also, there's an element of fragility to the batting lineup. Like, if they've got Temba Bavuma in there, pretty much nailed on to play. That's pretty weak. They've got a middle order that can be brittle. Like, didn't Boovi take like 9 wickets in an over against them recently? They're a team that can happen to. And I'm not sure, like, lower down the order, whether they've got real firepower beyond David Miller. David Miller having a great year for sure, and it's fantastic for them that they've got him in such form. But I don't know. I think some teams bat a little bit deeper. Are they better than Pakistan? Maybe. I think is my answer. Probably maybe with a slight yes.
I think they're going through. I think so. I think in this group, India and South Africa go through. I think Pakistan will slip up against one of the other teams.
Oh, really? So you think? Yeah. Okay. I think it'll be an interesting one. I think this group you could see. Do you remember last year when there was a scenario where 3 teams won 4 matches in one of the groups, England, Australia, and South Africa went out. I think that could happen here. I think Pakistan, India, and South Africa could all beat each other. But I actually think they're a little bit better than Zimbabwe and Bangladesh and the Netherlands, and so I think they'll all beat them as well. Anyway, Ross, I think we've probably done enough. That's 45 minutes. It's a little bit of a taster. Yeah,
I think there's one more thing to mention is around kind of the weather that's happening here. And like some of the games, like, depending on which ones get washed out, it's going to may have a huge implication on this, and that could well cause a serious upset.
Yeah, well, they're saying that India v Pakistan might be washed out on Sunday, aren't they? Which would be kind of funny on one hand, but a massive disappointment on the other. I hope it isn't. As we said, I think I said earlier on the show, and as we said over and over again, we're doing shows on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to try and do as many of them live as possible if you like joining us on YouTube. We'll hope that Ross's internet doesn't crap out on the next one and we have like an awkward 10 minutes where I'm just looking at the screen by myself.
It was 60 seconds.
It didn't even crash, during a bit where I had like good notes prepared. It crashed during UAE v Namibia. And it was like, well, I'm not. Both those teams are out. I haven't even got anything to talk about for these, apart from David Visa crying. And so I had to try and string that out for 60 seconds. It was a complete horror show. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday. Do get involved. Support us on Patreon. But as a minimum, drop us a like on this YouTube stream and click subscribe so that you get notifications about all of the good stuff that we have coming up for you. Cheerio.